It's funny because it's racist.
I'm no entertainment expert, but I've always been under the impression that comedians are supposed to be funny. They're supposed to make jokes and entertain us. They are not supposed to deconstruct and challenge our notions of what it means to be funny, or nag us and whine at us for finding the wrong things hilarious. If you want to nag people and be annoying for a living, don't try to be a comedian. Be a professional activist, or a Marxist history professor, or get a job writing for the Daily Beast. Point being, if you're miserable and useless and not funny, don't be a comedian. This is sage advice that perhaps more people that describe themselves as comedians could learn from. In today's video, the SJW war on comedy sweeps up America's favorite animated gas station attendant, Apu from The Simpsons. I'm not really a Simpsons fan, but I thought this whole controversy was just some astroturfed Twitter meme. But apparently, people like this dude are actually big mad about this topic. So let's jump in and check out what surely compelling things our friend from Now This has to say. But first, a word about your online privacy and security. While many Americans have been focused on Russia and Iran, there's a much more real and pressing foreign threat. That is, of course, the Communist Chinese. Just last month, Apple transferred the iCloud data of their Chinese users to a facility managed by a state-owned telecommunications provider, giving the Chinese government access to all of that data. And just last year, Apple removed VPN apps from their Chinese App Store, making it harder for users to circumvent firewalls and content filters. Unfortunately, countries across Europe are following the Chinese example, with Germany introducing strict new laws restricting internet free speech, and the UK attempting to follow suit. From China to Germany to the UK and the US, you need to protect your online privacy from state and corporate tyranny, which is why I recommend Virtual Shield's VPN technology. They have a strict no data logging policy that guarantees ultimate privacy and anonymity for their users. This month, Virtual Shield is giving away a free 1-year subscription to their flagship product, IdentiSafe, a microphone and webcam blocking technology for Windows with every annual VPN purchased. Get both products now for a full year for one great price. Stay protected online and get Virtual Shield. They're the only company that I use and trust.
Apu is the creation of white writers and white creators, and this is how they viewed a community. I say it in the film, but it's funny because it's racist.
Stereotypes are very effective in comedy because they're relatable. Everyone can understand them, and because they're taboo to talk about, a transgression against political correctness. And they allow people to laugh at phenomena they know are true, but they also know they would get in trouble if they personally made a joke about. Jokes about male stereotypes are all over system-approved comedy and sitcoms. You're totally allowed. In fact, you're encouraged to make jokes that play on stereotypes about white people, men, Christians, Southerners, etc. But if you make a joke about a stereotype concerning other groups, for example, a black joke or a joke about Indians, that is unacceptable. That's where the SJW mobs draw the line. It's true that Indians, Persians, and Arabs own a disproportionately large number of gas stations. I've traveled all across the country, and whether it's Charlottesville, Virginia, or Airway Heights, Washington, I've come across a ton of service stations owned and operated by Indians, Persians, and Arabs. And when this so-called comedian complains about a group of white writers thinking that this is how all Indians must be, he's missing the mark. The writers are not insinuating that all brown people own convenience stores. They're making a joke about a specific stereotypical group of people that will be relatable for their audience. That is the point here. Can you imagine having your jimmies so rustled over a cartoon character from a 90s cartoon that you feel inspired to make a whole movie about it? That would be like me trying to make a whole video about a single tweet, or Top Gear trying to make an entire episode about the Dacia Sandero. Actually, they probably could do that. Either way, it's such an insignificant issue in the grand scheme of things, but this just demonstrates how far the left is willing to go, how determined they are to destroy and ruin everything we enjoy about our culture.
You could fake your own death.
Oh, would you shut up?
All you need is a car bomb and
I can't believe you don't shut up.
I'm a huge Simpsons fan, and growing up, that was the only character that I had on mainstream television to, I guess, represent me as a South Asian American, as an Indian American.
No ring, I see. So you are only arranged to be married.
Apu is a minstrel character. It's a white man in brown paint, and I don't think people always see that, but when you see Hank Azaria actually do the voice without the cartoon, it hits home.
Greetings to everybody here.
This is a white guy doing a crappy impression.
Wow, can you imagine that? A voice actor doing a voice for someone they literally are not. We better call the SPLC, because this is Trump's America. Boy, I guess we better start complaining about Tara Strong voicing all of those male characters when she isn't actually a male. Or maybe protest Naughty Dog Game Studios for having Nolan North voice Nathan Drake, when in reality he hasn't killed any mythical demon creatures in the Himalayas, fought any Russian warlords, or survived a plane crash landing in the Middle East. It's almost as if actors are, dare I say it, acting in these roles. The same people that complain about this character being voiced by a white dude will Yas King Slay post on Twitter about the prospect of Idris Elba potentially playing James Bond. James Bond was very explicitly written to be a white male. He's an iconic symbol of the white British identity. But yet the left is okay with making him be played by a non-white actor. You have to ask yourself why that is. The left is okay with perceived symbols of whiteness being erased or destroyed, yet a racially incongruous voice actor of a cartoon character is completely unacceptable.
Not angry with him. I really would like a conversation as much as I would like a conversation with Matt Groening and other people who created that show, because I want to give an example of, hey, you can have a difference with somebody and talk about it. So I feel like we don't do enough of that in this country, and if we can't do that about a cartoon character, what can we do it about?
Yeah, I already know how that conversation is going to go, and I think you out there in the audience already do too. It will be a laundry list of complaints by this guy about how the character is insensitive, bigoted, racist, and so very hurtful, and then a demand that he be written off or fundamentally changed. Again, I have to ask, how mad online do you have to be before you attempt to launch an inquisition against a showrunner and a voice actor over a character portrayal you find to be deeply offensive?
We're in a new era. There's a lot more discussion, and people of color have a voice, and they're willing to share it. We are, people who are capable of telling our own stories. We just haven't been given a chance. A lot of this is, well, how do we get different voices in the room? Not just out of a sense of it's right and out of it's just, but also because it makes for better art, more honest art, more interesting art.
When he says it's a new era, I wonder what he's referring to. Is he referring perhaps to the browning of America that American conservatives like Ben Shapiro have no problem with? He's right. America is being fundamentally changed. We're becoming a country that would be unrecognizable to our country's founders, or even to our great-grandparents. Couple that with intense anti-white guilt being promoted in the media, and the disturbing rise of anti-white hatred that echoes through the halls of Hollywood, academia, and the media, and you're going to see more and more calls for white people to be replaced in entertainment media. Partially because they're simply no longer representative of the consumer base, sure, but also because of this warped notion of racial equity, where whites in some positions of privilege, like working in media, deserve to be pushed out, to make room for their more melanated and therefore more moral and deserving replacements.
And then they end up buying the store, and they buy other stores, and they employ other people, and they become moguls. And I think that's reality too. So you could easily turn Apu into a mogul. You could have someone that can counter Mr. Burns. And then that opens up a whole different set of social issues and topics and things to discuss.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the guy who owns a nuclear power company makes significantly more money than a guy who owns a chain of AM/PM franchises. Except he's not really ready to move beyond it. He's still here obsessing over it, and he's going to browbeat and guilt and shame white people, including the creators of The Simpsons, over this very issue until his 15 minutes of fame runs out, or they cave and agree to his demands.
To me, this is an old discussion. I don't really care about Apu. It's been 30 years. This film is really about what do we do from here? How do we create more honest representations of people in communities? How do we allow people to have the power to make their own choices when they depict themselves? The Simpsons was always great because it found a way to be current and relevant. Stereotypes are dated now. Fix them, move things around, and then you can be current again.
Do Indians, Arabs, and Persians still own a disproportionate amount of convenience stores? The answer obviously is yes. So the stereotype obviously is not outdated. It's still relevant. I wonder if our friend here would make this same argument about white people. Would he say that stereotypes about whites are dated and irrelevant? How about stereotypes about Christians, men, Southerners, and white Christian men from the South? That has to be our new narrative. Whenever someone makes an anti-white joke based on a stereotype, just inform them that they aren't funny because it is the current year, and we aren't doing stereotypes anymore. They're old and outdated, and it's time we just move past them as a progressive and inclusive society. But I have a feeling that isn't going to work. The left wants this both ways, and this is very important to understand. They want to be able to make jokes about, attack, and insult white people and white families based on their own anti-white stereotypes. And then they want the ability to turn around, do a 180, and whine about white people making jokes using stereotypes about non-white groups. They want it both ways. It's important to note as well that Apu is generally presented in a positive light. He's a hard worker, and the jokes made at his expense aren't mean-spirited or hateful, as the left would now say. They're just jokes. It's not a big deal. And in the show, despite his cultural differences, he still gets along pretty well with the people of Springfield. It's funny that the left is offended by him, but not by stereotypes of white ethnic groups on the show, such as Groundskeeper Willie or Luigi the Italian Chef. We all know why they're offended by the non-white stereotypes and why they're a-okay with the white stereotypes. This guy, Hari Kondabolu, has made it his life's mission to destroy this character. Since 2012, he's been leading a crusade to start a conversation, or in real terms, annoyingly pull the race card and annoy everybody. And finally, earlier this year, The Simpsons addressed the controversy by dismissing it entirely. And then the show's creator did an interview where he mocked our culture where people, quote, love to pretend they're offended. And for now, that's where this story ends. Just a lonely wannabe comedian, his dreams crushed, and his social justice crusade stopped dead in its tracks.